Some internet issues, Ethan. Just yes, now we are live. Welcome to this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live, the show which ensures that you profit from your time spent here with experts, either through their industry insights, information, or simply learning from them. And today we have with us Ethan Reisboard. He is a board certified hypnotherapist, helps clients create lasting change. We'll learn from him what hypnotherapy actually is, what is more effective than traditional therapy for certain issues, and how it helps with stress, anxiety, relationships, and creating lasting change. Welcome to the show, Ethan.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
You're welcome. Welcome to the show. Welcome to India in this online form. And I'm sure not just in India, but a lot of people across the globe will benefit from what we are going to talk right now. We'll talk about hypnotherapy for stress. We'll talk about hypnotherapy for relationships. And we'll also talk about hypnotherapy for real change. We'll talk about all this and much more. But before that, let's talk a bit about your journey, your background, so that people know who they are listening to.
Yeah, for sure. So, as you said, I'm a board certified hypnotherapist, but I do that because of what hypnotherapy brought me, not as a hypnotherapist, but as a client. Um, a couple years ago, I was suffering from really extreme, debilitating chronic pain as a result of a concussion that just wouldn't recover. It led to pretty extreme depression, and despite every modality of healing, nothing worked. I ended up going to my hypnotherapist, who in the past had helped me quit nicotine. And I really told her, like, I'm really depressed. Can you just help me with that? She painted the picture of how our mind and body is connected at a much deeper level, and that all of the issues I was experiencing were caused by my mind and was something that hypnotherapy could resolve. And in just a couple sessions with her, I found myself able to recover, going back and doing things like occupational therapy, except it was actually successful this time. Um, so I learned a lot about our mind, our body, mostly how the nervous system or immune system has a strong control over our actions and our beliefs. It just felt imprudent to go backwards in life after that, since life had brought me to that stuck point. So I went in a completely different direction. I became a hypnotherapist. I moved to Costa Rica. Um, and yeah, now I work to help people create lasting changes in their lives.
So, what is it that you want to tell people about hypnotherapy? Help us understand that people have been talking about hypnotherapy. Why does hypnotherapy need to so much to be talked about, so much to be, to convince people about?
Right. Well, hypnotherapy is such a powerful modality for change. And unfortunately, people seek out hypnotherapy in often their most desperate point, meaning they have gone and sought healing in so many different other ways. And once they get to a point of desperation and say, I don't know what else there is, then often they reach out for hypnotherapy. And then they start to see results. And it's great that they see results, but they don't have to suffer for that long, you know? Most people carry that with them for a while before they get to hypnotherapy. This is a modality that is proven by science. Maybe if we were talking 25 years ago, it would be a little more hippie, right? A little more woo-woo. But no, this is science. This is a proven modality that creates changes in your brain waves, your heart rate variability, to facilitate change. So anyone who's experiencing things that they want to create or eliminate in life, they know they could or should, but they can't. Hypnotherapy is for you.
Absolutely. How does it work actually on the ground? People still have the impression that, somebody hypnotizes you and then you are doing what they are actually saying you to do. But
Right.
is it like that, or is it, on the ground it works differently?
Right. No, it works differently. What you're describing is stage hypnosis, and that works a lot under illusion. It's using illusion to show these powerful quote unquote control. There's no control in hypnotherapy. If I hypnotized you and you rejected it the entire time, nothing would happen. Hypnotherapy is a completely participatory event that I can't make you say or do or think anything that you don't actually already want. What it feels like is a guided meditation. You're going to lay down, close your eyes, and get comfortable. But what we know now through science is I can actually guide you into a place of such comfort that parts of the brain, like the neocortex, shift. So we're willing to take in new information that our nervous system and our defense mechanisms were rejecting beforehand.
Absolutely. So can't people do it themselves? Means what is it that you as a hypnotherapist will do? And what is it that people can
Yeah.
do for themselves or cannot do for themselves? Because there is no external factor. Maybe it's the environment that one creates. Is it like that, or is it something more than that?
Right. Well, that's a good question. And self hypnosis is something that people can do. It's something I teach. But it's generally less intense. Like it feels less powerful. Um, I think self hypnosis is great to facilitate, to continue on with the changes, right? But in order to implement those powerful changes, hypnotherapy is important. The other aspect is if a session's an hour, I'm hypnotizing you for 20 minutes. In that other 40 minutes, we are unlocking and uncovering what's actually going on. You will have no success doing self-hypnosis for yourself every single day if there is a deep down subconscious block. If you have anxiety, but you have PTSD or complex PTSD, where your nervous system doesn't identify safety, you can do self-hypnosis every single day of the week. Nothing's going to change, because what you actually need is to go in deeper and to work with that part, work with that nervous system, create a foundation of safety first, right? And that's something that you probably wouldn't identify or unlock or be able to explore and break down without the support of someone else, right? And the other thing is even the strongest mind gets distracted, right? So when you're being guided in hypnosis, I am here to bring you exactly where you need to go, as opposed to getting distracted along the way or losing the efficacy, right? Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, Ethan. A lot of people say it feels like meditation. Is
Yeah.
it like meditation or is it something different?
Well, it's like a more powerful meditation. You can meditate every day of the week and never reach the hypnotic state. Now, if you go to Vietnam, to the Buddhists, and they're meditating, yeah, they're probably getting into that hypnotic state, right? So there's levels to it. But it's going to feel like that for sure. But what you need is someone to guide you to know that you are going the right way, because this is a scientific process. It's not just relaxation and it's not just meditation. It's doing those things in a way that's highly specific to induce and to get you into a state where essentially we have the neocortex, the critical mind, these things that are going to reject new information. We need to bypass that. It's possible to bypass it on your own or without hypnotherapy, but doing it with a hypnotherapist is going to be such a direct breakthrough.
Absolutely. So, in terms of, what is it most effective in, Ethan?
Yeah, so stress processing, these internal factors that are going on, stress, anxiety, I am in a fight with someone, or the outside world is affecting me. Like hypnotherapy can be really, really powerful for. The inverse is there are things I want to do in life that I can't. Like I want to quit alcohol, I want to quit smoking, I want to go to the gym more. Hypnotherapy is great for those things, with the caveat that you have to actually want it, right? I can't hypnotize anyone to do things they don't want. And some people they'd like to go to the gym an extra day, but they're very happy with their life and they're not really overweight, right? And then that's a little more tricky because the subconscious doesn't really want what they're there for. If you desire something, hypnotherapy can be that. In fact, there was a research article done where they had the control was lifting weights normal, and the subject was being hypnotized and in hypnosis envisioning lifting weights but not lifting any weights, and the results showed that both people's muscles grew. Okay, like that's insane. That's so incredible. So what hypnotherapy can do is anything. um, Pain management and immune disorders are things that I see incredible results for. I've worked with people who have struggled with certain types of chronic or acute pain for years, decades, and it goes away in a couple weeks.
Absolutely. How do you explain? Pain goes away in a couple of weeks because pain it happens due to some biological reasons, scientific reasons, and then this takes it away. One can understand that it can reduce it. How much can it take away in that process?
Yeah, well, so everyone's different, but I'm talking about someone who was experiencing a horrible outbreak of Crohn's disease and then goes to 0 out of 10 pain. Um, I'm talking about getting a surgery and having weird pains in their face post surgery for multiple years and it going away to 0, like no more pain. Um, Decades of chronic back pain and hip pain going to maybe 10% left. And I'm still seeing that person. So we'll get to the 0, right?
Absolutely.
Pain is unique because, if you put your hand on a stove, a hot stove, it's going to hurt, and that's good. You need that because it's telling you take your hand off the stove. If you have a broken foot and you're walking, it's going to hurt, and because it's trying to tell you stop walking, rest, right? You have a broken foot. In cases like that, pain is necessary. However, and often with people with chronic pain, it's not, meaning that they're experiencing pain as a result of something that happened in the past. They're experiencing pain that is not uniform, meaning it changes places or intensities or times, right? And there are countless indications. We don't have enough time to go over them all, but that indicate that this is a pain that is real, but is not necessary, right? It's not telling you truthfully that if you don't change, you're going to die or be or get in danger, right? And in those cases, you can work directly with the nervous system. If it's immune disorder, work directly with the immune system and begin to create shifts. Essentially, what happens in the body with chronic pain is it's like a lighthouse that's constantly going and looking and looking and looking, but it's just seeing rocks. It's going, oh, boat, but it's just a rock. All we have to do is essentially clean the camera on that lighthouse, right? So it can start to see clearly and properly identify what is safe and what is not safe. And that's something that's in 2025 pretty commonly accepted, thanks to people like Dr. Joe Dispenza or Richard Sarno, who have done all of these studies on pain management and disease healing.
Absolutely. What about relationships? How can people utilize it for, making their relationships better?
So yes, now I can't hypnotize someone else, right, who's not there. So you can't come to me and say, my wife does X, Y, and Z. Make it so my wife doesn't do X, Y, and Z. Unfortunately, right? Probably have more clients if I could do that. But with relationships, it's how are things affecting you, and it's how are your actions affecting the relationship, right? And those are things that hypnotherapy can absolutely work on. When you're in a relationship, it's very, it could be emotionally intense. It's very tight knit. Not to mention there is this innate biological belief of connection and intimacy, that there is a legitimate risk to our nervous system to lose that, right? So relationships are deeply connected to our fight-flight response. Even if it doesn't feel like that outwardly, it's happening in an internal sense in terms of your intrusive thoughts and being able to, or lack thereof, being in the present moment, right? So anyone who's in a relationship can probably identify 5 things or more that they interpret that they'd like it to affect them less, or maybe their response in an argument or their expression of truth. Anything that's coming from a place internal, hypnotherapy is so powerful at creating those shifts. And as I was saying, it's almost an automatic when you're in a relationship and it's so emotionally tight. These are like automatic jolt responses. Well, hypnotherapy is one of the only things that helps shift those immediate responses, right? Something like CBT isn't going to be effective because you don't have time in between the impulse and the action to stop and breathe or do the tools. Hypnotherapy is the thing that's actually going to get in there and help shift the automatic response.
Absolutely. What about, life goals, setting life goals and achieving it with the help of hypnotherapy? How does that work?
Yeah, so I mean, it's the same process. One thing is in hypnosis, we actually don't know the difference between fantasy and reality. So this is where, the concept of manifestation, I mean, it's real. And in order to manifest, you have to get into a physiological state, right? So the state of hypnosis is the state of manifestation. So when it comes to creating goals, being able to visualize, and not just visualize you doing it, but visualizing feeling the reward, the accomplishment, right? The emotions you'll get afterwards, creates really powerful changes that then causes your subconscious to guide you in a path towards those things. The other thing with goals is we often have subconscious resistance to those things. I don't know if you're familiar with homeostasis, but we as a whole being want to stay in place, even if what we are is a smoker or an anxiety person. Creating change is a threat to our homeostasis, right? So there's subconscious resistance, sometimes seen as self-sabotage, that comes out when we're talking about goals. And again, this is why it's good to see a hypnotherapist rather than just do it yourself, because we have to explore this and break it down through certain types of hypnotic modalities. And once there's a release of that and we have confidence, clarity to take action, then we can visualize the goals that you want, right?
Absolutely. So if anyone is manifesting something, in a way they are, including hypnotherapy in that whole process.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, I'm asking, is it like that?
If they're doing it right. So manifestation the wrong way is just like willing something to happen, right? Manifestation the right way is giving as many of your senses as possible into the experience, giving your body permission to experience something before it even happened, right? And experiencing those senses and experiencing the emotions that will be felt. That is hypnosis. That might not be the definition that I would give you at the start of our podcast, but if you break it down like that, that is what happens in hypnosis every single time.
Absolutely. What are the challenges that you face during, when you are doing this hypnotherapy thing?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest challenge is just the first session, laying out what is and what isn't hypnotherapy. Despite best efforts, people still perceive that hypnosis is feeling a certain way. And if they don't feel their perception of hypnosis, then it didn't work. And the truth is that's not true at all. Hypnosis doesn't really require you to feel a certain way. It's physiological changes. It's in the body. I could measure your heart rate variability and your brain waves of someone who feels like they're floating and in space and someone who just thinks like they're listening to my words, and it will show the same thing. So it's really just getting them to buy into, trust the process, that they're clearly in a state of desiring change because they're here. They've gone through other modalities that haven't worked. So trusting that we can go through this together. That's really the biggest challenge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What about in terms of, sessions? People generally think, it might take a lot of time, this sort of thing. How many sessions does it generally take to, achieve a particular thing? Either it is stress, it is relationship, or even about life goals.
Right. So that's one answer I can't give you. There's no one size fits all. I have, as I said, with the person with Crohn's, I worked with them once and they went to zero pain. Um, that's pretty rare for working with pain. We need to shift the mind. And once the mind shifts, then over time, the body starts to shift, right? I offer a package of 6 sessions. If you, for example, buy 6, you get a little discount because I think 6 is a good number. We need to identify what's going on. We need to release the past behaviors. We need to create a foundation of new behaviors. We need to build upon that and we need to reinforce it, right? And that also doesn't even leave space for the fact that most people have deep subconscious resistance. And we have to do things maybe like parts therapy, also known as internal family systems, to begin to break that down, right? So this is not a one session cures all. And the truth is, the way I do hypnotherapy is I hypnotize for lasting change. I don't hypnotize for this one issue that a week from now, a new trigger is going to bring back this issue, right? Someone who's a cigarette smoker, they might say my issue is smoking cigarettes, but if we break it down, more likely than not, their issue is how they're processing things in life. That the fact that they're going to smoke as the result of other perceptions, experiences in life. And you can eliminate smoking, that's going to do nothing for their stress response, right? So we have to work on the stress response first, then we can get into smoking.
Right. So, how much expectations or what expectations should people generally approach hypnotherapy?
Yeah, so I mean, that's going to depend on the consultation we have. I offer a free phone consultation where we can talk about what's going on. Someone who's experiencing, something acute, we'll get through it for sure. But I've seen people who are 70 years old who have arthritis all over them, who want to work on pain management. Well, we have to have a different conversation. That's going to be more of a process. That's going to be a week by week thing. I have someone who has early onset dementia. Okay, we're not going to snap our fingers and eliminate dementia. We're going to be working week by week on quality of life and maintaining what's going on right now. So it's completely different based on the presenting issue and the person who I'm speaking with.
Absolutely. Does it also work online, Ethan?
Yeah. I have anyone who doesn't believe it, I can send you a clinical research article. But my stories of me being healed all online. Nicotine, chronic pain, depression, I've all eliminated with online hypnotherapy. Every story I've given you, other than the Crohn's disease, but all the others were online. So hypnotherapy online is highly effective, and it's great because you don't have to get out of your house. You don't have to go into an uncomfortable setting. I'm going to meet you where you are on your couch, and we're going to settle into a really great, comforting spa.
Absolutely. There's much to learn about all this from you, Ethan. And I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you, learn more from you about this, and perhaps want to be your client. What's the best way for them to do so?
Yeah, so my website has all of my information. It has my social links. It has scheduling, consultation. It has my blogs. It has my other media. So my website is ethanreishypnotherapy.com, ETHANREIS hypnotherapy.com. And my name's Ethan Reisboard. If you search me, you should get my other, as I said, my other media and links.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of the KJ Masterclass Live. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.